Well, this wasn't how I imagined how motherhood would start. I knew that the birth was unlikely to go quite as I planned, but one minute I'm enjoying my pregnancy, and then suddenly my whole world is inside a plastic box. Not only did I have to learn to be a mum, but I also had to navigate the challenges of having a baby in intensive care. The ups and the downs, scans, tests, doctors, getting to grips with all the medical terminology, changing nappies through the holes in the side of the incubator, and learning how to feed my son through an NG tube. To not be able to pick up your baby whenever you want and to leave hospital without your baby is something that I never expected, and the long drive into the hospital every day and watching new parents carrying out their newborns from the maternity wing was very painful. There are lots of risks associated with prematurity, and we still don't really know what the lasting effects of being born 11 weeks early might be, but you also meet the most incredible people, and we've seen the amazing work that the NHS does. The neonatal staff were some of the most supportive and caring people that I've ever met, and I also met some wonderful other parents that I keep in touch with to this day. My life outside the hospital went completely on hold while we waited for our son to become strong enough to be allowed home. Neonatal is full of ups and downs, and one of the hardest points was when we were preparing to take him home with an NG tube, only to do a download and be told that he has an oxygen requirement and that he won't be able to come home with oxygen and an NG tube, so he'd have to be taking all of his feeds by mouth, which was a challenge because he was and still is an incredibly lazy eater. We saw so many other babies come and go, and it's so difficult not to compare your journeys. It can feel like everything is moving at a snail's pace. My son spent 49 days in an incubator, so wasn't even able to wear clothes. There was a day that they'd wheeled in the hot cot ready to move him into it, and he stopped breathing, and they had to press the emergency bell and get all the doctors and stuff in, and then it meant that he had to stay in the incubator longer because they wanted to watch his breathing, so he wasn't yet able to move into the hot cot, so it got wheeled out again. And that's how neonatal NICU journeys can be. It can be so up and down, and things can change so quickly. As the weeks went on, he had less braddies, less episodes of apneas, and the abnormalities in his brain scans improved. The ASD and the PDA in his heart started closing, and after a blood transfusion he had more energy. He was having less frequent DSATs and was still very lazy with his feeds, but eventually was strong enough to come home. At this point we'd had home oxygen installed, and 2 days after his due date, 79 days after he was born, we were allowed to go home. It hasn't been his only hospital stay, but it was definitely the longest. So suddenly I had to learn to become a mum all over again without the monitors and the alarms and the constant stream of clinical staff. But you adapt, and I've learned that I'm much stronger than I know. And premature babies are incredibly resilient, and I'm so proud of what my son overcame. If you're going through your own neonatal NICU experience, please try to remember that you and your baby are stronger than you think. Take each day as it comes. Every day is a day closer to coming home. It's not your fault. And look after yourself too. It's incredibly draining mentally, physically, emotionally. It's so challenging. So please make sure that you're looking after yourself as well, because you really need all of your reserves to get through the experience. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.